right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and get the call of meeting to order. This is the March 19th, 2021 meeting of the Shelby Historic Preservation Commission. We'll do roll call. Lacey Bissett.
Present.
Pat Carlisle.
Present.
I'm here. Mary Durkin.
Present.
Mayor Shagg and Jessica Gribben are not here, and Joe Geis.
Here.
Great. So we've established a quorum. Did we get any public comments, Joe?
Did not.
Okay. Any additions or changes to the order of the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Motion to approve the February 19th, 2021 digital and written minutes.
I move to approve. You can.
Okay. Mary moves.
I'll second.
Thank you. Lacey seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Committee reports. Rich History Alliance grant update. The next grant is April 1st. I think we're still in the mode of not pulling people together, so we'll probably wait on the for the next grant cycle, and we'll figure out what we're going to do. We were going to do repointing brick. We might want to consider some kind of a window, when restoring window sashes or something like that. That might be of interest to people too. I know that I don't know, Lacey, if they're still going to move forward with a window workshop out at Day Spring since they didn't get the grant. I don't know. I don't know if the one had to do with the other.
As far as I know, nothing's changed. So
Okay. All right.
they did get a grant, I think.
Oh, okay.
Into it, but yeah, I think we're kind of just playing it by ear at this point. It's not going to happen in the next month or two, from what I know. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got time to look at that, and there's money to do other things with too that Rich History Alliance has available. So I'll talk to Alan Wigton again and get a better idea of what we might be able to use that money for. I would like to take advantage of that funding, because even if it's, a few $1,000s, it may not even be that much, but maybe 1,000 or so we could get. Number two, under designation, so we've postponed Marvin Memorial Library and Shelby Pure Milk as nominating them for the locally designated historic landmarks, as you remember. I will talk to Marvin Memorial Library. Their next meeting ought to be the end of April. Well, actually, next meeting is probably the end of March, but I won't be able to make that one. But I should be able to make a meeting the end of April, one of their regular board meetings. And so I will see if I can get on the agenda for them for that meeting. And then we're still working on the Shelby Pure Milk Barn history to be able to add that in. Any other questions on that? Okay. Any other properties that we might want to consider as locally designated sites? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Number three, local design guidelines, next steps. I don't have my notes from the last meeting. I looked at the minutes, and I don't know if we actually said what we were going to do for next steps. So, okay. All right. So I think what we might want to do is for the next meeting, and we could have a bit of a discussion today if you want, but I think for the next meeting, maybe we come prepared with a list of what we think is, what makes Shelby streetscape. What makes the exterior of the buildings that we feel like locally we need to discuss and come up with some, guidance on that. So, so basically we're looking at, what might be common in Shelby. And, something that comes to mind for me is all the bay windows that are along Main Street. So things like that. And then what might be unique. I mean, I guess that's also kind of unique, the bay windows that are still there. So how does that sound? Good. So we'll come up with a list for that. I will also send for the next meeting, and I apologize. I just feel like I'm really behind this month. I've had some health issues I'm working on. Lacey and I made the design guidelines content document that we had. I will resend that to you along with maybe an updated list that Joe Thompson made about the considerations for the local standards that he made it was several months ago. And I'll kind of update that and send both of those to you. And then I also think at the next meeting, after we talk about what's common and what's unique, then maybe we choose one of those or some of the top things that we want to discuss first and have some kind of guidelines for. So we'll get started rolling on that a little bit. Good morning, Mayor Shag. How are you?
Good morning, Christina. Good, thank you.
Good.
Sorry I'm a little late here.
That's okay. We're talking about design guidelines, and what we're going to do for the next meeting is come up with our own ideas of what makes the Shelby streetscape, what is common in Shelby, and what might be unique in Shelby. So we're going to start with that and start with the list. So, okay. Any other discussion on that area?
I thought we were also going to pull guidelines from other communities that are, same size, same type, and be able to look at those for, for our ideas.
Yeah, I think definitely do that. And I think that'll become even more important as we choose a particular area that we kind of want to delve into a little bit more. Then, start looking at others' guidelines so that we can see what others are doing. So I think that's all. I think it goes hand in hand to start looking at those other guidelines and then bring them forward to the meeting too. So that's a good point. Okay, anything else? Okay. Let's see, moving on, inventory. I updated the inventory to include the National Register, the Ohio Historic Inventory, and the local landmarks into one spreadsheet. It's a Google spreadsheet. And I sent you the link last night. So I'm sure you probably haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I started looking up the property owners I just started going down the list, and I don't know, I got maybe 10 done. There's still some more that needs to be done. So if you have some free time, I also gave you the link in the email to go to, I think it's called Beacon or something like that, that Richland County uses for their land, their property. So it's pretty easy to do. You just put the address in and then it pulls up. It may pull up several different because it will look at like not only 62 East Main Street, but it'll do 620, anything that has a combination of 62 in it. In Richland County, it pulls up. So you got to make sure you get the right one in Shelby, because sometimes it's the same address in Mansfield or other areas too. So a little tip on that one.
I'll be willing to volunteer to do that. I can do that.
Great. Thank you.
I'll do that like first week in April.
Okay, that would be great. It's really quick. I mean,
I've done things like that before with it.
Yeah, it doesn't take. And I eventually, I was just putting the property owners' names, and I looked to see if it was the same address as the, address of the property. And if it was, I didn't immediately fill in, the address farther in the spreadsheet, but eventually we'll want to do that so that we have, a list of all the addresses in there. But I only put an address if it was different from just to make it go quicker. But eventually we'll want to put the addresses in too. So.
Chris, I was noticing on the new link that you sent, there's a state inventory tab. I had started to work off of that, but is that it looks like that's duplicated on the National Register list now. Is that going away?
Yeah, yes, but I don't know enough about Google Sheets, and I was really worried if I started to delete it, and I was like, I hope I don't delete the entire file. So I backed out and I didn't delete it. But yeah, work from the one that says National Register for now. And maybe what I'll do is make a copy of the other one just in case, and then I'll delete that so that it's not on there anymore. But yeah, work from that main one.
Okay.
I should have explained that in the email. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Any other comments on the spreadsheet? And I think then once we get that done, we'll check again in April and see where we are. And I think once that's done, then we can start contacting those property owners to let them know that their property is on there. I'm kind of conflicted on some of this too, because as I'm starting to go through, I don't think the owners are the same ones and I didn't think they would be, the same owners as the ones that actually nominated their properties at one point. And the pictures, at least that I'm seeing on that Beacon site right now, they don't seem to be really particularly historic properties. And I'm just wondering if they just announced at some point, if your house is older than 50 years old, if you'd like to have it named as a historic property, then, fill this paperwork out. I don't know. I kind of feel like that's what they did. And so I think that's a large inventory for us to have to keep track of and deal with, because they're going to be under the same guidance that we have with, with National Register properties and locally designated properties. Anytime that they make an external change, to their property, they would need to come to us and do a certificate of appropriateness. And I'm just not sure that that those properties are of historical value that I don't know if they can, if we ask the property owners if they're willing to stay on that National Register, on the Ohio inventory, and then, so let me explain another thing too. When I talked to SHPO, they did tell me that for properties no longer there, they don't actually remove it from the list. They just mark it as demolished or whatever. And I would imagine that they could do the same thing with these other properties too. And I don't know. What do you feel about it, Pat?
It has been listed on the Ohio inventory.
We're having trouble here. I can't hear you.
It's on the Ohio inventory and it still exists. I think it falls under our perusal as far as certificates of appropriateness.
Yeah.
Same with locally designated and obviously National Register. If it's not on any of those three lists, if it pops up on that Richland County list, but it's not on any of our lists that we know that it's not National Register, it's not Ohio inventory, because we can always check that, and it's not locally designated, I'm not going to worry about what they're doing to them. We'll have more than enough business to deal with the ones that are listed and that we know have some historic value. It wouldn't be on Ohio inventory if it didn't have historic value at the time. And it's not going to be local unless we've researched it, national, obvious. So if there's a property on that Richland list, that link you sent us, that might be historic, but it's not on any of our lists, I'm not going to worry about them.
Well, the ones that I sent you are on the Ohio inventory. And so that's why I'm questioning it. I just, we're dealing with properties that were probably put on there in the 1970s.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the criteria was at that point and how they had to prove that they were historic, other than maybe that they were of the age that could be included.
Do you have the actual, can we, on the Ohio history, on that list, can we see the actual application and what it was that determined it to be on the list? The actual application, the original application form?
I know the forms aren't on there, and I can't remember if the dates are actually on there, but I know that most of them predate because they used that list and then chose some, like the historic district. All of those properties were on the state inventory before they were on the National Register. So I think they used that state inventory first, then to decide what would go on the National Register.
So Joe, what is it that you have in your files? We determined that to be Ohio, the actual forms for Ohio Historic Inventory, right? You've got a wad in your files, Joe. And
Only thing I have is the ones for the downtown here.
are you sure? Because you showed me a set that I said I have a copy of that set, and those are Ohio inventory. Those are Ohio historic inventories, not just downtown.
I don't remember that, but I can look again.
Yeah, you got a stack in your bottom drawer.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe you gotta have you ever shown those to Chris? What you have?
I don't remember anything except the national, but I can look.
Okay, because I have Ohio inventory, but they're weird copies. They were done poorly. They're hard to read, and in some cases, they're back to each other. So, but I have a stack of forms that I inherited from the Shelby Chamber of Commerce way back whenever. And I believe them to be Ohio inventory, not National Register. The stuff that's on the Central District is not listed there.
Chris, were you at one of the RPA meetings where Alan Wigton had a binder, and it was the state inventory forms, I believe. So I don't know if it was the applications per se, but I don't remember if they were for all of Richland County or just Mansfield. It was pretty thick, so I'm thinking it was all of Richland County. Do you remember that?
I do remember it. We'll have to ask him again, because I was under the assumption it was just Mansfield, but you could be right. It was pretty thick. So maybe it is all of Richland County, but we can check with him.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder on that one.
I still think that those people need to be contacted and the issue explained to them, and give them the option of whether or not they're thinking that it's a good thing to remain on the list, or maybe they might even be able to explain how they got on the list. If they were the original person that did it.
Well, yeah, and what I've seen so far is that they're not the original. Now, they may be family members, that bought the house or inherited the house too. So I didn't think about that. But I mean, the names don't match up at this point, to the original property owners. But you're right. That was kind of the way I was thinking, was that, we give them the option to stay or not. But, we may also have to do some digging too, and see if there is anything historically relevant with those homes. I mean, I'm not seeing there's some on Broadway that were like multiple units. There's some on West Park Drive that we do want to have on you know, the state
Mhm.
inventory because of the to be town. But then
I
there's
have
one,
some, sorry, when you get a sec, I have a couple of thoughts with regard to this.
okay.
So I'm just wondering if there's a precedent for this kind of thing. It might be hard to find, of course, but I think we also need to keep in mind that we don't want to give too easy of an out for people who are opposed to preservation completely, just because we have an obligation for posterity to, I mean, part of the reason why we have some of these houses looking not so historic is because people move away from that, especially individuals move away from that. A future property owner may be like, well, I wish they would have kept this on the list because it may have had some protection, and now we're gonna have to put it back on. Except for we can't because they've made some changes meanwhile. So we have to be careful of that, I think, to some degree, not just be like, hey, you want to avoid any kind of like, protection of the property, just get off the list, But additionally, we also need to look at, sometimes the facade could look less historic than what may be underneath it. So I don't know, it's really going to depend on the property, but like if there's a brick addition in front of a historic, window, it's going to be hard to tell 100%. So if we can really tell that there's nothing on the exterior that's historic, then it's obviously a reason maybe to take it off. But if there's possibility for something hiding, that's another reason to be careful, I think.
Those are really good points. Thank you. Okay, any other comments about this? So kind of what I'm hearing is, tread lightly as we go along and look at these properties and look at them individually, really, and look to see if there's any historic value to it. Talk to the property owners, and then see where we are with it. So, okay, and again, the first step will be to make sure that we get the Ohio inventory completed so that we can start contacting the property owners.
I will do that.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see. Number 5, we talked a little bit last time about a survey of residences above the historic district storefronts, and I think probably what we'll need for that is just to craft a letter that we can send to the properties in the historic district and find out. And I think maybe we ought to include some of the properties that aren't on the National Register, just so that we have a complete inventory. There aren't a whole lot of properties that in that downtown core that are not on the National Register, but there are. I know of the one wooden building that's right next to the vault. I'm pretty sure I've heard that there are apartments above there. I think I talked to a man the other day that that lived above there, and I think it would be good to have that information, even if because it could help CIC too. If we're going to do a survey, we might as well make it complete, I guess is my thought. What are your
That
thoughts?
building is not on the register,
Right.
but it's the one that sits next to the vault where the sporting, I always went in there to get sports cards for my kids when they were into sports cards.
Yeah.
Is it still owned by the same people? The business, is it still owned by Argos?
I don't know.
Joe is shaking his head. Argos are there. Because
Okay.
Rex and I graduated.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think they graduated from high school with me, but I haven't seen either of them for quite a while. Okay, so the Argos are still operating that store? Yes, there is an apartment above there. I know that. There might even be 2 apartments above there.
Yeah.
There's just about every building that has a 2nd floor has a potential of having apartments above it.
Mm-hmm.
The Daily Globe is the one where they use the second floor for business. But most of those second stories, and of course the City Hall, it's storage. But some of them it's just storage, and others it's apartments. And it depends on whether the apartment was established a long time ago, or whether they let it go vacant and they want to improve it and so on, and et cetera, et cetera. So we just have to see. But I know of at least 4 people that I know have lived above those storefronts.
Okay,
There's definitely apartments above what is the old brick lane. All along in there. There's a whole string of apartments up there. And all those buildings, those apartments are actually all serviced from that parking lot behind there. That parking lot, where that is, behind Legends, that big lot. One side of that lot is just for the parking of residents above those buildings. I do know that.
okay, good. I'll craft a letter to send to the property owners, and we'll try and get a survey going on that.
Well, when we deliver the claims, couldn't we ask that question?
I think so. I was thinking about that. I'm wondering if, because not all of them, most are renters, not most, I mean, some of them are renters, but I suppose they would still know.
If
How many
somebody's up above them, I think they
First
would.
floor might be a
Yeah.
leasee, and they may not know much about what is going on the second floor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we could, that might be easier than trying to contact the property owners, because some of them are out of state too, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. At least if we can get a rough idea of, what's available. I think that's really important to know as we go forward with both historic preservation, but also economic development too. Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay. Window signs still to be distributed. I was hoping to get out, but the weather hasn't cooperated, and so I think this next month will probably be a good time for us to get out. And what do you think about each one of you taking the same areas that we updated the inventory with, and each one of us deliver some, and then I'll deliver to the Ohio Historic Inventory people. Those are mostly on East Main Street, so I'll take care of them too. Okay, does everybody remember what areas you had? Okay, and I'll have to get back with, I'll have to get with you and give you the number of clings that you'll need, so that you can do that. So do we want to try to do that in April, or do you want to delay that till May?
I'm willing, being retired, don't have to go to work or anything. I'm willing to, do a lot of that if other people need me to do that. I would like some guidelines. So for Christina, to you to say what I should say to these people when I walk in their door with a claim. I mean,
Yeah.
the explanation, I mean, just give me some, speaking points, I think I would need.
Okay.
And put on the bottom, ask them if they have anybody living up above.
Yeah. Okay.
But, if somebody, doesn't feel that they can do their section, I'd be willing to do mine and help out.
Good.
I mean, maybe if you just give us all a list, or who, tell us which ones you want us to go to.
Okay. Pat, did you have a comment?
Yes, yeah, consistency of how we each present those claims and how we interact with the occupant who may not be the owner. So that we are all saying the same thing, responding the same way, so there is a consistency, maybe even something printed that goes with our number of claims. You give us kind of a talking sheet or something that goes with us when we do that. The other thing I have to let everybody know is I have another possibility for a major surgery coming up soon. So I don't know how, I don't know when it will be yet, but it will definitely slow me down. Rehab will probably take 12 weeks. I have to replace my right shoulder completely.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be an interesting approach to how I get around. Since I'm right-handed right now, it is extremely painful just to brush my hair. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do.
Oh, goodness. I
You know,
hope that goes well.
even with the cling, if we had some type of a half sheet paper with our letterhead or something to hand them with the cling to kind of restate what we've just verbally said to them. I
Sure.
think that would be a good idea.
Okay. You know, we haven't really talked about it either, but I'm wondering if we need to give them guidance on like where to put the cling. I mean, preference might be to have it on the street front, you know, the street front window, or if the door is recessed and maybe street front, or, I mean, do we want to get that technical with it, or, because we kind of want it to look standardized and we want people to be able to see it from the street as they walk by, but I don't know how technical we should get with it.
I figured that if I was giving this cling, I'd probably help them decide where to put it. You know, in part of the conversation.
Sure.
I think it kind of depends on the particular building. I mean, if it's a business where people are going in, it could be on a, you know, glass front door, or if not, then optimally in a window in the front. I mean, I think there's really only a couple preferred places to put it.
Mhm.
Obviously, you don't want to put it on the back side of the building unless people are going in and out there. So it should be fairly simple, I would think.
Now, the best location where it gets the most visibility. Now, that's being awfully general, but that's what we want. We want it to get as much visibility as possible.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on that? I'm sorry, I keep, the light's shining in on the window here. It's doing weird things for me, so I keep moving. You're gonna see my whole room by the time I'm done, I think. The blog to be set up on the city website. I'm a little bit behind on that. So Joe, I will get with you and we'll figure out what we're gonna do with that. If you remember last time we talked about a blog rather than an email or something that we send out so that not only property owners can see updated information, but also anyone who's interested in historic preservation. So the blog would include things like grants that are coming up, what people are doing with their property, you know, improvements that they're making. We want to show good practices. We want to show, you know, spotlight our historic buildings that are, you know, that are making those changes to and restoration too. So, so it's kind of where we're going on that one, I think. And Joe, I'll get with you at some point this month and we'll work on it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that? And I do hope that you all will help provide input for that site. If you see something that you think property owners might be interested in, or just, you know, general public might be interested in. So we'll come up with a kind of maybe a set of good things that we'd like to put on the site. Work on that. Okay, unfinished business, the 1872 engine house. Mayor Schneider, do you have any update on that?
The conversation is continuing with Superior. Last time Chief Thompson and I talked with them, there were several issues we spoke of in the realm of the financials. But as I understand it, they were taking a serious look at the purchase of that building. Now, that was probably 6 weeks ago. So Chief hasn't heard anything, neither have I. And this may be a good opportunity for me again to contact them and see where they're at in that process. I think we all know they've looked at several alternative sites, repurposing buildings, building a new building or whatever. But so I hate to leave it in that realm of the unknown, but I think the next move is up to them. You know, what are their plans for the future here? And that's part of a larger conversation with having a private ambulance service in town, subsidies, no subsidies, and all the rest of that. So I think I'll just wait for the next conversation with Superior and see. They were supposed to get back with their superiors, I guess, for lack of a better word, and talk over and crunch some numbers.
They do understand it's on the National Register? Have they been told that?
No, I think it's a good, no, I don't believe so. I will,
Yeah.
Yeah. That may have a bearing on whether they want to purchase or not and so forth too, right?
Yeah.
They should know. They need to know.
Yeah, they do.
And they may, I don't think I've ever said, I cannot recall saying that to them directly, but they may have that knowledge from previous conversations, but I will make sure.
Let's make sure they do know.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess we probably shouldn't schedule a committee of the whole meeting or ask to schedule one at this point.
I think be prudent once we have some information from them, whether, you know, yay or nay or whatever. Yeah, I think that'd be the appropriate time. And yeah, with purchase of real estate and so forth, Pat, you know, that may be an executive session type decision or discussion as well. So yeah, I'll give you an update, Christine. We'll update the whole commission here once I know it, even a little bit of something, give you at least an idea of what's happening. I don't mean to keep you in the dark, but I really don't have a whole lot to share.
Okay. We just for my own information, there's another building that was back behind Rocket Chevrolet and the carton service. It's back there on that little industrial area. I mean, is that still being used, or because I never see anybody back there?
There's some sort of a business back there. Simon and I were just back there a few weeks ago. There's something operating. I mean, the tire shop or something like that. You know, the difficulties were, of course, back there, no dormitory room. And if you put dormitories in, firewalls and fire suppression systems and so forth. So there were issues. That was when community looked at it. The ambulance service did operate out of that building before that.
Yeah, I do. I remember that one. The one that I'm thinking of is back there. The new Rocket Chevrolet back being, so there's carton service back behind, and then
On
there's
technology.
yeah,
On
that's
technology or Wareham? Because
Yeah,
those-
technology Wareham. Yeah. There's an ambulance service
Wareham
that's in
is
there.
something different.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So I
another
thought
ambulance
there
service
was,
occupies that building.
yeah, I thought there was an ambulance service back there, but I don't ever see anybody back there. I don't see any other cars. I don't see the doors open.
I believe they
See
use
them
it.
back there every now and then. They just do transports between, you know, nursing homes to hospitals or in between hospitals or whatnot.
Yeah, it's like a satellite building for them.
Kind of like Apple, that little service that takes people wherever they want to go, call Apple service or whatever.
Yeah, and I think they may
It's
have.
not really an ambulance service. It appears to be, but it's not.
Now, this is a real ambulance, so.
Oh, is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
This one is, yeah.
Okay. So it's, is it on a, is the address Wareham or Technology?
Technology.
I think it's
Technology.
Technology?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks. I was just curious on that one.
Yeah, and we thought the same thing.
I still have the engine house history digitization on hold. I've left that on there in honor of Joe Thompson. So just to make sure that we remember to do that. I actually talked to, is it Phil Curran, who was the one of the fire chiefs at one point. Yeah, he messaged me on Facebook at one point and told me about all of his history. I think he's the one that put most of that together.
Yeah, he
so,
did. That's an incredible book he put together.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was really interested to talk to him too. So we have that contact now. And of course, 59 West Main Street, the CIC finally closed on that building, and they own it now. They're looking at scheduling, for lack of a better word, I put open house, but mostly for CIC members. But I also asked if, if any of us wanted to go through the building too, just to see what it looked like, what condition. It's really rough. You can tell that by the outside of the building without even going inside. But I'll let you know when they get that scheduled. And they are aware. I've talked to them, and I will probably help them write any certificates of appropriateness. I know that early on they've got to get the roof fixed right away, and so they're looking. They have some people coming in to look at the roof and give them some estimates on that. Although I don't know about the funding yet on that. So
I have a question.
yeah.
All right, 59 West Main is the one with the blue paint on the front, right?
Yeah.
Right next door is 57. Who owns 57?
It's all one building. It's all owned by the CIC.
That's what I thought. So 59 and 57 are both owned by the CIC now.
Correct.
So both storefronts are CIC now.
Correct.
Okay. I wanted to make that clear in our notes that it's 57 through 59 West Main, not just 59.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear in our notes because I thought that, and then I kept watching, and the newspaper reported it as 57, but I knew we keep talking about 59, so I was pretty sure it's all one building. You can tell from the chorus at the top that it's all one. It's a big building, and there's apartments above both of those storefronts.
Our spreadsheet, we listed as 57, 59, because that's one of the ones I worked with.
Yeah, but it's all one building. It has two addresses, 57, 59 West Main is one giant building. It's kind of like the Brickley Hotel and all the stuff. There's more than one address there. It's like 61, 63, and 65, and it's all the same big building.
Is there anything else you want to mention, Joe, on that one?
No.
Okay. Number 11, search for the new commission member. We have done a lot of talking. I've done a lot of talking back and forth with Mayor Shag on that too. And one of the things that we talked about in the Richland Preservation Action Group was the fact that some of the members of that group have actually been on other historic preservation commissions before, and they have said that that historic property owners were parts of those commissions, and in fact it strengthened the commission. It was better to have them on there. So we started looking again into the legalities and the ethics, I guess, of having historic property owners on there. And I did talk with Nathan Bevel, or emailed him the other day about whether this could happen, and he said yes, it's something that they just need to recuse themselves if it's something having to do with their property, their particular property. So, but I know that there's other issues too regarding the city. If if they were to bid on, you know, some city business, they might not be able to do that, or they wouldn't be able to do that. So they're, you know, they're one of the people that we were interested in, you know, could potentially have business with the city.
Mhm.
So he may not be a good choice. We don't, you know, so this, you know, it's such
We
a
need
small.
to- Yeah, we should look at the rules and procedures for the operation of the commission, because it does mention ethics issues are there, and those rules and procedures were presented to council and approved by council in 2016. So if you haven't pulled that document out for a while, the rules and procedures for the operation of the Historic Preservation Commission, I think it has some possible tweaking that could happen to it, but I think we need to look in there to see what it says there. I know that you will probably have at least one council member who's very strong on making certain that members of these commissions in no way benefit in any way from the actions of the commission. Not about voting, but about benefiting. So when I was on the planning commission, I lost 2 members immediately off of the planning commission because one of them was going to add an addition to their home and want a tax credit for that. And so off the commission they went. And another one wanted to bid on something with the city. I believe it was computers. So off the commission they went. So there is a real concern that we need to talk to, not just about Nathan, because Nathan's not in the city. We need to talk to our legal counsel here in the city, and we need to seriously look at those kinds of things. There's even a piece in the city charter about people not benefiting from city business when they serve on city commissions. And the mayor is nodding his head over there because he's heard this lingo before.
And I believe that we did send names to potential names to Gordon. And I think that he didn't see a conflict in it, but I think we weren't looking at it from the point of view of city contracts and things like that. So,
Yeah.
do you remember?
I
Right.
can think of someone that I know is retired and probably would be an asset because he's well aware of how city business operates as well, but he's retired from all of it now and wouldn't get any benefit from working on the commission, but I completely forgot to contact him in the last month. When I was looking at my notes, I have his name scribbled in the side and I go, oh, never talked to. So, yeah.
You have any thoughts on that, Mayor Shea?
No, I think the candidate we were speaking of, I think what would really be the problem for him would be any future contracts that he would want to be involved with on these buildings. He would have to resign. So I think the best to continue to look. And Pat, if you have a name there, we'd be glad to contact that person.
I got to do that. I got to call that person. I've been wanting to talk to them anyway. So, yeah.
We were hoping to have someone, with a little bit of, if not architectural or engineering, but maybe construction background. That'd be helpful. But we know it's kind of thin picking sometimes. We're very, very thankful for each and every one of you, but we're trying to round it out with a little bit of that type of background.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll make a point of making a phone call and pleading our case.
All right, very good.
This retired individual who's very familiar with engineering, construction, architecture, and all of that, and was actually a piece of the city at one time. So yeah.
All right.
And I'll reach out and plead my case.
Sounds promising. Tell him we need him.
Yes, we do. We really do.
Right. Thank you.
Good. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we've been working on it. It's just been trying to find the best fit and the best fit that would be of benefit to that person and not.
That's going to be the hard part, is getting an individual who's, well, Mary, I have to be honest with you. you figured out how to do this and still do your Florida visit and still do the things that you've always done. So this individual is one of those people too, who has other properties and has kids out of state and stuff like that. So yeah, and they like their freedom right now. They're really enjoying their freedom. I do know that. Mary, we enjoy our freedom, do we not?
You're making me jealous, Pat.
Get over it.
I will. I will.
Well, let's see. So we're down to the end. We have reminders. The next meeting is April 16th. City council meetings are April 5th and 19th at 7 p.m. At the Justice Center. They're still being live streamed. Any other business?
Do you think we'll do, are we going to Zoom again for the 16th meeting?
Yes, and we can, will you be back in town by then?
Oh, yes. Mhm.
Okay. We could talk about, that would be April, May or June. I think we're still thinking maybe June we would do a
Public hearings.
Public
on
hearing.
on the Ohio Historic Inventory.
yeah, and we would probably do that in person, I think. I mean, that's still, you know, we'd have to check with the city on that, make sure that we're okay to do that. But
Because with that many properties, we probably would have people who want to attend if we did that in person. We're gonna have more people wanting to attend because there's what, 55 properties on the Ohio Inventory?
yeah. Well, we'd have to count up because we've already done some of them. The historic district we've already put on the local.
Yeah, right, exactly. We can take those off. But I'm just saying, there's over what, maybe 25 properties, 25 to 30.
Yeah, it's gonna, we'll have to really get working on this to make sure that we know, you know, which property owners still want their property on the Ohio inventory and then also on the local.
And they can't take it off without notifying Ohio. I would imagine they have to notify Ohio historic inventory people that they want their property marked as no longer viable or no longer applying or whatever the word is. I don't know. It's not demolished, obviously, but they're not interested in participating anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, Pat, thank you for sending the email. I guess I forgot to tell everybody what happened.
Well, I read it and I thought, did she ever mention that? I don't think she mentioned it. So, okay, go ahead.
No, what Pat's talking about is the Ohio History Fund grant that we got. Joe and I worked on that to digitize the city council minutes, and we had to have a place to kind of park it within the city. So we parked it within the Shelby Historic Preservation Commission, but it's the work is really being done by the Marvin Memorial Library and the Richland Shelby chapter of the Ohio Genealogical Society. So we're really excited about that. This competition was really stiff, and I thought, well, we're not going to get it. We'll have to go look for a grant somewhere else. And so we're really excited that we got the grant. There's a lot of history locked up upstairs that, you know,
A lot of dusty documents.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun. I think it'll be fun for everybody to look at. And what will happen with it is there's a website called Ohio Memory, and that's where we'll place all those documents. And if they are handwritten, then the genealogical chapter is going to transcribe them. So that gives us a lot of experience and makes it a lot easier to read. I know Chief Combs has looked through some of those books. He goes, I can't read half this writing. It's like it is something that, you know, if you're reading historic documents, then you can read it pretty easily. But if you're not used to that S's, the double S's, and they look like F's and all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
I was just looking to double check, but you probably know, I believe the Historic Preservation Commission request came through the appropriations unmolested. I think everything was as presented. I was trying to find it here.
Yeah, that was a question.
Joe,
I
do you
had.
remember for sure? I think,
Yeah,
yeah, but there were no,
no, I got with Brian and we added in all the stuff for the grant because it's reimbursed and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that was in there.
Good.
So can I have the numbers and the date that it was approved and the numbers that were approved for our notes, for our minutes? Or can
yeah, Joe will
someone-
get that to you.
Joe will do that, okay. I just need to know, Joe, the date that it was approved and
Thank you,
the
Joe.
figures that were approved.
No, it was approved March 15th.
Well, that's good, that's easy.
We can, you know what, Stacy scanned me a copy of the whole legislation, signed and everything. Pat, maybe that'd be easier just to send that to you.
Whatever, I just need to know what the numbers were on our line item.
I think it's
I
in
don't
there. I
think-
think it's
I
separated.
don't think that you've changed our line item number. I know the line item number. I just want to know what was in there.
Yeah, let me send that to you and see if that satisfies you, Joe. If you need something further, just get a hold of Joe.
Okay. Yeah, I just need just a little detail to put in the minutes so that we know what was approved
Right,
and appropriated for 2021.
right. Very good.
Good. Anything else? All right. If not, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
That's a record, 1
Thank you.
hour.
Oh, yeah. right on the button.
Congratulations, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See y'all.
Bye.